Hello everyone, good morning, good evening, welcome back. Welcome to Cloud DevOps Batch 58. So before I start the session, I just want to give a quick recap on what's being covered in the previous session. Previous session, we provisioned the VPC, and then we also provisioned the EKS. And we also shown how can we exchange the information between two different modules. So the EKS needs the subnet IDs which were created by this particular module. So whenever we would like to exchange the information between the modules, we send it over the root module. That's something we have discussed. And also we made sure with a single click of a button, we can get everything and we got everything. And also, in the last session, I did mention what's next. We need our own network. Let's develop it. That we need to create EKS out of the network. Yeah. And then restrict our figure out the
Your
partners in the
voice
last
is not clear, Manoj.
project as a part of it. Right? Now, what I did was I just went into the PF module, okay, BPC, and then details. And then as a part of it, I just came here. So if you remember this, all these days, with a single click of the button, how are we getting R2 and which is nothing but Argo CD and metric server installation through this. So when you're running create.sh, so it is getting the nodes, it is updating, which is going to get the config and then applies this file and then applies this file, right? This is what we are doing. Exactly the same. Also doing it on the okay. So for that, what we are doing is we are using a what we are using, we are using a null resource. And I have named it as handle install boot. That means as a part of the server creation. Trigger. This is also something we have used it last time that we are playing the Terraform. Okay. Now this ensures this provisioner will be running all the time because with the provisioners are by default create time. That means only during the creation of the provisioners they will be running. What I did was I used the local provisioner. That means this is going to be executed from the top of the server where we have connected. So this is going to get the authentication information. And I'm checking whether it is coming up or not. And then I'm using cube control apply these two commands to get the needed thing. Okay, so let's see whether it is working. Before I proceed further, anyone have any question? Any question?
Manoj, your audio is not that clear.
Is it? Is it for everyone? Vikram, Srilata, Arun?
Yes, Manoj, for all.
Is it? Okay. Let's keep that.
Yes, I think network issue or maybe.
How about now?
Yes, please speak again so we can make sure.
Can anyone confirm me now? Anyone?
Yes, Manoj.
Is it better now?
Yeah, Manoj.
Is it better? Can anyone confirm me?
Yes, Manoj, it's better now.
Okay, let's get started. Okay, so if you try to run it, it should get everything that is needed for you. So come back. So I just want to see whether it is really coming up or not. So I already ran it, okay, because I don't want to, because it takes almost 15 to 20 minutes of time. I really don't want to waste time during this, okay? So format, and then, okay, now make it. And I have done it. Now it's going to connect, and also OCD, it is taking time, so I'm just fixing. But yes, it doesn't matter for us at this point of time. And I also fixed the GoCD, Argo CD issue. We'll talk about it. Let's see. Now this is going to rerun the provisioner. Okay, because the reason why it is going to trigger is if you see this every time, okay, whenever there is a change in the timestamp, obviously it will be running all the time. Okay, so three to add. What is the three three items to add? No group, it will be created, and then VPC CRNA will also be created. Let's see what it's gonna do. Okay, perfect. And if you see this installing, Okay, every time you run it, your server, see, today I'll destroy that server. Tomorrow when I come up, I should get everything, my Argo CD, my application deployments, everything. Okay, resource and use add-on already exists. So how can we get rid of this error when we run it for the second time? Hmm. Mm, okay, creating media around. Terraform. Okay, let's see why are we getting this. Terraform, EKS, add-on. Hmm. In fact, I don't even need this, but at this point of time, that's fine. Okay. I don't need this, but what we can do is let's try to change it. Okay. If this is in my isn't it fine? Let's see, it's going to destroy and recreate. That's fine. Okay. Now, what else is needed? Okay. If you look at this right now, okay, what's next? Let it come up. Okay. So with this, we have solved all this. Solved. Correct. Now, I also want to make sure whether these are coming up or not. Okay. Argo series should also be coming up. Why Argo series is not coming up? How did it come up? Okay, that's fine. This is really good. With a single click of a button, I'm getting everything. Okay. Okay, see get NS. Now I'll also get the Argo CD. Perfect. Okay, see top nodes. Okay, my metric server will also be coming up. Next is okay, see top nodes. Why? Metrics API not available. Why? Creating the VKS. It's what is causing this concerning thing? Let me destroy it. Okay, I don't want it at this point of time. I'll handle it later. Let me get rid of it. Okay, because every time it is failing, I just commented it. Okay, so that's good. What's next? It's a backlog. Okay, what's next? VPC when rerun is failing. Okay, resource and use exception. Okay, that's something we need to sort. And second thing, right now our database is on the top of the local, which I don't want. Okay, there are some advantages if you use managed service. Okay, we'll talk about it. Let's see what it's gonna come up. Node group, in fact, it didn't really create. Uh, TF module EKS. I clearly mentioned TF module EKS. Cat for. I connected it, commented it. Node group. Item number 3. Node group should be created. Okay. I think node group is not created. That is what it is complaining about. Okay. And that's the reason backend is not showing up. EKS main. I don't want it. Okay. And then node group. Node group is needed to run the host. That's right. And that is the reason your cluster is created, but not the node pool. So let the node pool gets created. Yes, perfect. Version 1.31. And if you see compute, okay, there is a compute is also available. And Jivan, it is already there, right? EKS node group example. Okay, help install boot to add. What is the other one to add? Okay, let's do one thing. I'll destroy it. Okay, it's gonna take time. That's fine. Let it get destroyed. Okay. Now, what next I want to do? Okay, what's next I want to do? Okay, let it destroy and recreate. Okay. The next thing that I want to handle is okay. Right now, okay. Right now, our database. Okay, database should be on manager service. Okay. See, right now your database is created on the top of a manual server, which is a managed server, which you are managing, but which I don't want. Okay. So right now our database self-managed. Okay. So if it is self-managed, okay, you are responsible for high availability of it. Okay. You're responsible for data maintenance. You're responsible for server maintenance. Okay. You're responsible for, okay. You're responsible for the response time. You're responsible for storage management. And if you need high availability, you need to use some replication software to replicate the data. Which is a very costly software, by the way. Next, you're responsible for the storage management. Okay. Next, you are also responsible for, okay. Or security management. Okay. You are responsible for the scalability of it. That means if you need more CPU, more memory, more resources, you are responsible for everything. Okay. In the space of database, it is a very complicated thing, and you need to hire a very skilled database administrator for this work. Okay. Instead, if you go with a managed service, okay, AWS offers SQL database, which we call it as a PaaS mode, platform as a service, just like EKS, which is RDS. Okay, so RDS stands for Relational Database Service. database, relational database service. Here, Amazon, okay, this is also a service which is widely used, and what all databases are supported by it. Right now, it supports, okay, SQL database, SQL database, MySQL Server, next MariaDB, and Aurora, and Postgres, and IBM DB2. IBM DB2. It also supports Oracle, okay, and Aurora Postgres. Okay, Aurora is Amazon managed. Okay, so these are the 8 types of database that Amazon supports for the RDS. Okay, let me try to show you what I mean. If I go with the managed service, okay, you're not responsible for the underlying platform. You're not responsible for the operating system, I mean, software version of the database. All you need to do is you just need to choose. Okay, if you wanted high availability, okay, you have an option. If you just say, okay, I want just a standalone instance, they give you one standalone instance. If you're concerned about what do you call, if you are concerned about the high availability, okay, they also create one more replica. Again, it happens behind the hoods. This is the main copy, and this is a replica. Okay, and you need to pay 2 times again. If you are getting $100 bill, and if you use this, you will get a $200 bill. Okay, because they are offering one more zone. Okay, and this will be in zone 1A. Okay, and this, okay, people will be accessing this. Okay, they will give you an endpoint. Everyone will, okay, and if you see this, I'm sorry. Okay, and this is the replica. So the advantage of this is, okay, typically back in days before cloud, okay, we used to buy database replication softwares. What are the famous database replication software? Okay, you need to buy these softwares. Okay, so you need to buy the software. Again, IBM has its own software, Quilly, Quisom. Again, these comes with cost, by the way. Okay, and that's the reason whenever you're on cloud, people typically go with, okay, database solution. But there are some companies, what they do is they put their stateless workloads, non-data related workloads on cloud, and database related or data related workloads on their on-prem. It depends on the company policy. Okay, and here people will be accessing this. Okay, for the end user perspective, it is just a database. Okay, but in case if this goes down, okay, every time a read or write operation happens here, okay, uh, it immediately copies the data here. This way, if it goes down, automatically your traffic, you don't even have to change the endpoint. Okay, the endpoint will be changed automatically. Okay, your traffic will be routed here, and after some time, if the instance comes up again, the traffic routing will happen automatically here. Okay, this is the advantage of it. All right. Okay, clear. All right. Perfect. So let me try to show you what I mean. And the name of the service is RDS. RDS, why 0 to add that you want to destroy? One second, let me delete it manually. Why it is behaving like this? Okay, yeah, let this get deleted. Okay, it's gonna take some time, but that's totally fine. Okay. So we are talking about RDS. As I mentioned, RDS stands for Relational Database Service, and as a part of the free tier, you get 750 hours of DB T3.micro edition. Okay, and the advantage of it is you can allocate the storage up to 100 TB. It's very big, very big. Okay, and in case if you want to move away from Amazon to some other cloud, these guys also supports. You can export your data to AWS. Okay, you can export your data to S3 buckets, and these guys offers backup and management as well. So here you are responsible for backup and management. Okay, in case if you lose your data, in case if the data is corrupted. Okay, typically if you are working for any financial organizations or anything, you have to save the data for 5 years or 10 years or whatever it may be as per the organization standards. All right, this is also something you need to do. But with this, these guys will take care of everything. All right. Now here, let's try to create a database manual and see what all options are available. So standard create and easy create. So here, Amazon Aurora. Okay, Aurora is just like EC2 Linux, which is Amazon Linux. Okay, just like how AWS has their own flavor of Linux, which is again a Red Hat module, okay, which is called as Amazon Linux or EC2 Linux. Just like that in the MySQL world also, Amazon has their own in-house built database, which is SQL category, which is Aurora. Aurora is offered both in MySQL and Postgres. Again, both of them are SQL. RDS stands for Relational Database Service. When I started my career, only MySQL Server and Postgres are supported. In last 8 years, down the line, they have added a lot. IBM DB2, which is a proprietary solution which runs on the top of the IBM hardware, they also offered this as a service, which is a very recent offering, by the way. Okay, this is very costly because this runs on IBM hardware. Okay, you can select in my training, I want MySQL. Okay, whether you want MySQL Community Edition or what. And if you want, show versions that support multi-AZ database cluster. Okay, again, multi-availability database cluster. This is another important thing. Okay, you can also create the cluster, okay, on RDS. Okay, you can create the cluster. Or cluster mode. Okay, so what do you mean by cluster mode? So if you are creating a database in a cluster mode, okay, let me tell you what are the advantage of it. Okay, this you can consider it as an instance mode. You just have one instance. Okay, so this is called as instance mode. Okay, but if you want to create your database in a what do you call in a clustered approach, what will happen is this is something when you're having more read write operations. Based on that, you can make a decision. If you create a database in a cluster mode RDS, okay, the advantage is okay, you can come here. So one read replica, write replica. Okay, it will be in one zone, and this will be a read replica. You can have two replicas or you can have three replicas or five replicas. This is a cluster creating in a database creating in a cluster mode. So the advantage with this is whatever the write operation that wants to happen. Okay, now whatever for example, if anyone wants to, here you'll get three endpoints: first endpoint, second point, and third endpoint, and this is called as the write replica. If the request that you get it from the public is to write something, okay, this will be, you will be using two URLs. One URL is for write operation. If you want to write something, you'll write it on the top of it. If customer wants to read the data, so they will be connecting to this particular replica. Okay, this replica or that replica. So the advantage with this is you also have an option. Okay, so typically write operation takes time, right? So if you want to have a better readability where multiple databases doing this job for better efficiency and better latency, okay, you go with this architecture. Okay, so and this is called as a synchronous. Whenever any write happens, immediately it replicates the data across this. So whenever someone wants to read the data, they will be using through these replicas. Okay, but you will be paid for 3 times, and this is called as a cluster mode, RDS and cluster mode. Okay, it purely actually Mongo extensively uses this cluster mode in SQL is a recent addition. It is not something which is there from the beginning. If you ask me, just 1 or 2 years back only it was introduced. Okay, if you ask me in my training which is needed, you don't need this much at this point of time. We can create it in an instance mode, which is going to solve our purpose. All right. Any questions on this, anyone? Are we clear so far? Any questions, anyone?
Uh, Manoj, hello.
Yes.
In cluster mode, we have a different node for different type operation. We can say
Uh, just let's
read,
not
write.
complicate. Only two,
Yes.
not different. Okay, only two. Read, write. That's it.
Okay.
What else will be there?
Okay.
Either on database, either you read or write. That's all, right?
Yes. Only two types of
That's it.
transactions. Yes.
If you're talking about API, that's a different thing. Get call, put call, post call. Okay, like
Yes.
get the data, write the data, or read the data.
Mm, yes. That is different case.
Yes. But you're clear
Okay.
with this? And by the way, Rachit,
Yes.
I lost the audio. Okay, I lost the video which we are updating, which we are talking. I re-recorded it. Okay, I'll update it. Okay, allow me today. I think by your lunchtime today, you'll get it. You should be having it ready. It's my sincere apologies. I just lost that video. Instead of deleting something, I deleted that. I re-recorded it. Okay.
No, no issue for time actually. Just I remind actually
No,
it
no,
is
that's fine. That's
miss.
fine.
Yes.
Someone has to remind me. That's when I can pay more attention. Yeah, I want someone like that. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Okay. But this is everything comes up with cost. Okay. If someone is giving you some better accessibility, that also means you need to pay extra, right? Everyone wants to make money. So this is how it works in the back end. All right. Okay. That's it. Any questions so far, anyone? Any questions, anyone? Okay. So I think let's proceed. Now I would like to create it. So all you need to do is you just need to select whatever is needed, and each and every one that you select will have a version. Okay. And then once you select what type, whether you want it in production or dev test or it's a part of the pre-tar, and you also need to select whether it is a multi-AZ deployment. I also told you where and all it has to create, which is a costly thing. Okay, multi-AZ database cluster. That means, okay, database cluster means so read replicas will be in different zones and write replica will be in different zones. Okay, and look at this, they are not talking about multi-regional. Keep this point in mind. You cannot have a multi-regional database. Okay, so there is no such thing at this point of time for in RDS. Okay, so if you want multi-regional, that's a different game, by the way. And this is multi-DB instance. That means this one. Okay, you can have one read and write instance where the replica copy in somewhere else in the other zone. Okay, and this is just to make sure in case if you lose zone 1A, okay, so this comes up automatically without any downtime. So the end users will never know that this switch has happened. Okay, the next thing. And database identifier, and remember the names, and you need to give the name, username and password, and special characters are not supported. So that means as the database that you create, what are the values that you want to create? Okay, that is one thing. All right. That should be it. And again, if you want encryption, you can use the appropriate keys. And what type of instance you want. Among all, dbt3.micro is free. So let's go with that only. Okay. So you can choose anything, but dbt3.micro is free. I know that. And what type of disk you want? GP3. Yesterday, someone has asked what is GP3 and GP2. So GP3 is generation 3 and GP2 is generation 2. Okay. And what is the storage that you want? And in case if you reach this, you just need to increase the disk. Everything is seamless. And connectivity, you can connect within the default VPC or outside the VPC. And subnet group. Subnet group means because this is one subnet and this is one subnet and this is one subnet, right? So where and all you want to create, you need to create a group of subnets, and that is called as subnet group. That means you're not creating subnets. That means you're telling X, Y, Z subnets are a fall of group. So whenever you want to add the replicas, this is where you need to add. Okay. So public access or private access. I don't want this to be accessed from the public, and at the same time, it won't be having the public URL. Okay, so only AWS EC2 instances and other resources that are inside the VPC can connect to your database, which is a very smart thing. And again, security group. Okay, and tags as usual, and password authentication, or you wanted to go through IAM or Kerberos. Okay, and performance insights. Okay, how long you want to keep the performance insights? So usually people keep it for 6 months. You want to see down the line how last 6 months things are going on. But again, everything comes up with cost. Okay, and yeah. And additional configuration. What is the database name that you want? Parameter group is nothing but group of parameters. Okay. Enable automatic backup. You can mention. Okay. Once you mention it, you can choose a window. I want to make sure every day at night, 11 o'clock, I want my systems to go for a backup. Okay. And the backup duration I'm giving is 3 hours. So from 23, night 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock, I don't care whenever you take the backup. Okay. That is one thing. All right, and what are logs that you want to capture? I'm only interested about capturing the logs that are slow, and I am also interested to capture the error logs. General logs, I don't care. Okay, and maintenance. Okay, I want whenever there is a minor version, that means 1.2.3. 3 is called as a service pack. 2 is called as a minor version. I want minor version to be upgraded automatically. You can also choose a window. So here I told you, right? So everything, patch management, server management, storage management, everything Amazon will take care. So everything comes up with cost. Okay, so enable deletion protection. When you enable this, no one can delete your database directly. All right. So this is something I want to do with a single click of a button. All right. Clear, guys? Any questions on this, anyone? Want to take a pause? Because I am speaking, you're just listening. I want to make sure things are clear or not. Just a second, let me back. I'm back. Okay, I'm back. So, all right. So I'm destroying the cluster. Now what I want is I want to create the database. Okay, I want to create the database. So how can we do that? Okay. So any questions so far, anyone? Any questions? Again, once this server comes up, okay, once this destroy, completes, and recreate comes up, I'll create it, have everything. Okay, so let's wait. Now what I want is I want to create a EKS. Okay, so let's try to do it. AWS RDS Terraform. RDS database instance. Okay, it also offers database in the form of a cluster as well. Okay, so you just type AWS underscore RDS. So you can see in the resources, can you see this? You can also create it in the form of a cluster. Okay, but I don't want, I just want to go with a database instance. Provides an RDS instance. A database instance is an isolated database environment in the cloud. A database instance can contain multiple user created databases. Okay, so changes to a database instance can occur when you manually change a parameter, such as allocated storage. Okay, so using apply immediately can result in a brief downtime as the server reboots. See the AWS. I don't know about this. So low downtime updates by default RDS updates to which can lead to a service interruption. See, listen this. So RDS applies updates to instances, database instances in place, which can lead to service interruption. Low downtime updates minimizes service interruption by performing the updates within a RDS blue-green deployment and switching over the instance when complete. That means if you're having two replicas, okay, see here, if you're having two replicas, if any update happens, for example, right now you're running with 1.5, 1.4, okay. So if they want to switch from 1.4 to 1.5, typically there will be a downtime. So what they're saying is, if you if you go with a real time, I mean, if you go with a what do you call if replica, whenever you want to upgrade from 1.5 to 1.4, so whenever their update is happening, they automatically route the traffic here. It updates to 1.5, and then it routes the traffic here, and then update happens here. So this way you can avoid the you can achieve close to 100% availability. That is what it's talking about. Okay, clear? Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is here everything is fine. So using RDS deployments for databases, but this comes up with cost. Okay. So if you want, you just need to mention this skipped final snapshot true. Whenever you're deleting a database, it asks you, hey, you're trying to delete a database. Are you sure that you don't want to take a database snapshot? Okay, this is in training you don't need, but in reality you always keep it as false. Whenever someone deletes, we take a snapshot to prevent the data losing data. Okay, so I'd like to create it, and for that I'll keep everything in a separate file. Okay, just like how I have created TF module, EKS, TF module, VPC, just like that I'll also want to create the TF module RDS. Okay, let's try to create it. Let's come here. Now you need to clone it. TF module RDS. Okay. Okay. Now here I would like to keep. Okay. So what is the readme that I have kept? Come here. I'll try to keep everything here. Okay. This is the backend module. Okay, for expense Terraform, all the code needed to create RDS. Okay, MySQL will be hosted here. Okay, egress RDS relational database service PaaS offering from AWS for SQL workloads. Okay, databases supported so far. Okay, so but again, always always refer official documentation because you never know what they add and what they remove. Okay. Okay, so let's try to create. Any questions so far, anyone? Okay, all right. So the next thing that I would like to do is let's try to create it. Okay, so let's call it as RDS.tf. RDS.tf, this is what we need to use. So this username and password, what is the allocated storage, what is the database name, what is the engine version, okay, what is the engine name, what is the instance class, do you need to use any username password, what is the username, what is the password, and all these things we need to supply. Okay, but for this I need to have a username and password as well, right? Username and password, but I don't want to use it here. Okay, so admin1 and expense app1. Okay, but I don't want to hard code it because this should be coming up from the vault. Okay, because we are using vault. I'll go here and I'll try to sign into my vault. Okay, so since this is a development environment, I'll create a secret. Okay, so I'll just call it as what RDS, and I'll call this as RDS and the username as admin1, and the password I would like to use is expense app, something like that. Expense app 123. Okay, so that should be it. Now we should be reading it. So how to read it? That is another thing. Guys, any questions so far, anyone? Any questions so far, anyone? Am I audible? Anyone confirm me? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Any questions, anyone so far?
No, sir.
Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can someone explain me what's going on? What are we achieving right now? Anyone? Anyone? That's okay. That's
We,
okay. Whatever, whatever you understood, that's fine. Just read out. Okay.
yes, we are going to create database actually
Using.
using the password. We required the password. Sorry, credential, username and password. So we are using Vault.
Okay. All right. So we are putting
Yes.
everything on the top of vault, which is
Yes.
going to do it. Correct.
Yes.
Anything else? Okay. All right. Now, since everything got destroyed, created, I'll try to run it one more time. Okay, this time it's going to create everything, including the Argo CD, okay, and then metric server installation as well. And then I also want my RDS to be created. Okay, so for that, I need to check things first, okay, how it works and all. So first my goal is, okay, how can we retrieve the vault secrets through Terraform? I think we did it, but I don't know how we did it. Okay, but let's try to research. HashiCorp vault. Hmm. So reads arbitrary data from the given path and volume. Okay, this is primarily intended to be used with vaults generic data. But since this is a third-party product, do we need to use? Okay, we need to use the provider information. Okay, if you don't use provider, it will not work as far as I know. Uh, let's see this. Okay, how do we do it? Mm, okay. So how are we using is we just need to mention vault and from where it has to read. Okay, fine. And okay, first what we'll do is we'll learn how to read it. Okay, we need to supply this values. So go to expense Terraform. You need to supply all the backend modules that you're using. Expense Terraform, and in the provider.df. Right now you're using only AWS provider and backend as S3, right? Let's try to use provider vault as well. Provider vault. Okay, so configuration options, what configuration options are available? Okay, so provider rundeck, no. What is a provider vault, right? Vault configurations, required vault capabilities. How do I know? So how does it come to know from where it has to go? So this is like, see, you're telling I want provider vault, okay, and here in the required providers, you're telling it has to go and download for you and this version of provider you want. This is the meaning of it. But how do I mention what is a vault URL, vault token and all? Uh, Not attributes, arguments. Mm, where do I get it? I'm very clear on this. Okay, there is no doubt. Go to TF module RDS. This I'm very clear. Okay, vault generic secrets, RDS, example dev RDS. This I'm very sure. This is the one, if I'm not wrong. Expense F&M RDS. Okay, fine. But where do I get the configuration options? How do I come to know what are the vault configuration details? HashiCorp provider vault. Let's go to the GitHub page. Vault. Yeah, okay. They have given something. Okay, provider arguments. Yeah, I didn't notice it. Okay. So if you see this, they are optioning, they are giving you arguments, attributes, and provider attributes. So required. Okay, origin of the vault server. Yes, this is something I'm aware of it. Let's use it. So in the provider, okay, address is equal to. So vault details we need to use. All right. Did we happen to create the Route 53 record for it? Yeah. So vault.expense.internal. I'm done. And then what is the port number? Port number is 8200, right? 8200. HTTPS vault.expense.internal 8200. And how it can authenticate. That is another thing, right? Token. So optional vault token that will be used for the Terraform to authenticate, maybe set via vault token. Yeah, I am using vault. Okay. Is equal to var.vault token. Okay, since I'm already using this vault token, I just parameterize it. And next thing, and again, if you remember this, I want to skip TLS verification. Do we have any options? Yeah, skip TLS verify because we are not really using any TLS. Skip TLS is equal to true. That's it. That should be it. Thing TF module provider. Okay, vault. And also we also need to do one more thing. If this has to be used, okay, you also need to mention this module to be used. Okay, create EKS. So I want this to be created second, creates RDS. Creates RDS. And I'll call it as RDS. And this module is dependent on module.vpc. Okay. And this module.eks, I want this to be created only after the creation of database. If not, I don't want. Okay, that means every time first VPC will be created and then RDS will be created. Okay, RDS is dependent on VPC because VPC, if the network is not created, there is no point of creating. Okay, sorry, my screen was not shared. So what I did was I just did a copy paste of it. Let me do it. So you also need to declare the declaration. Okay, module RDS, and I want to make sure this is dependent only on module.vpc. Okay, and EKS is dependent on RDS. Okay, that means first VPC will be created, and once after the creation of VPC, RDS will be created because RDS is dependent on VPC because without having network, there is no point you create VPC. Okay, without having database, there is no point you create EKS. So this is how you are creating the needed aspects. All right. At this point of time, I don't want any of it. Mm, let's get rid of everything. Okay, I don't want anything. All I want to make sure is whether it can read or not. Okay. Mm, so let's try to publish it. Then the TF module RDS. I'm reading it right. Now next, what I want is read a file Terraform. Read a file. Local file. Yeah. So reads a file from the local system. Yes. So what I want is the resource local file. So it generates a local file with the given content. Okay, since it has read the values from there and using the content that is read, I would like to create a file. All right. It's not foo or bar, just say test content. And the content is file name. Let me say, just say tmp slash some temp.json. Content is equal to data dot terraform remote state dot rds dot. I don't know what will be the value of it, so go and get the information from here itself. Okay, so how do we read the data? Attributes. Data.json. Okay. Perfect. Now this is going to generate a file that should have all the needed information. Okay. Now all I'm doing is I'm just making sure whatever is needed is coming through or not. That's it. All right. That's it. So let's try to publish it. Expense Terraform. Okay, cd2 tf-module RDS. Publish it. Now let's try to run it one more time. Now this time first VPC, it will be refreshed because it's already created. And second thing, it will be RDS. Okay, so let's wait for it. Module RDS, env is required. Is it? Where did I use it? Okay. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to use RDS, right? So let's wait for it. Go to add. So helm install local file. This will be the one that will be created first because it's already in place. Let's wait for it. Module.rds. So I'll just open one more session. Damn. Okay, done. I accidentally terminated it. So I accidentally deleted that. Okay. Since it is running interactively, when you close the terminal, that means since the job is running on the top of the terminal, it will fail.
Sir, in this case, like how we can remove the cache and all, sir?
We're already doing it, right?
Okay.
Got it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Let's do it. Okay. So support to add EKS main resort distribution. Now what I'm gonna do is I'll duplicate a session. It have. I just want to make sure whether the data is coming through or not. That's it. Okay. It should be create a file cd2/tmp. And what are you kept in the what do you call this /tmp will be wiped off once the system restarts. Okay. Keep that point in mind. So module.rds. So first EKS. Why EKS? So destroying because destroy has to happen first. Ah, mom. That's /tmp. Yeah, it takes time because it's went for the destroy first. Why it is going through this path? Okay, that's fine. So once it is destroyed, I think it will work as far as I know. Okay, let's that destroy. I also want to do other things meanwhile. Okay, any questions, anyone meanwhile? Let this get destroyed. It's destroyed, right? What else is doing it still? Any questions, anyone so far? It's wasting our time. We can keep everything in a separate, to avoid this, we can keep VPC in a separate job and RDS in a separate job, but you need to run it multiple times. Okay. That is another thing which we don't want. Okay. 3 to add, 2 to destroy. So your module EKS. Yeah. Can you see this? temp.json. Perfect. You are getting the data. Okay. So if you want password and this both of them are coming up, which which you can read it. But how do we read it? Okay. So how can we, this is a JSON output, right? So how can I read it from a JSON output? Okay. There is something called a JSON decode function. Okay. Terraform, there is a default function, okay, which is a common thing. JSON decode. Using this, JSON decode examples. Terraform JSON got to read vault. Yeah, JSON decode. Yeah, this is what it is, JSON decode. Okay, I get it. So, so here is how you can read it. Okay, since it is working, what we can do is we can just mention username is equal to username data. Okay, JSON decode. Okay, and inside this you need to mention it. Okay, okay, dot username. Okay, so ours is username, right? So go here and just say this username, and again manage master password. So what we can use for it? Password. So let's use password instead of this. JSON decode password only. Okay, this way they can directly read the info. And allocated storage, dummy default, and the DB name. I just want to call it as, let's say, expense. Okay, and engine. Okay, what is the engine? So this values var dot engine. Next, engine version. Var dot engine version. These values I would like to parameterize it. And this is a free tire which I would like to use it. Var dot instance class. Done. Done. These two values you need to supply. And skip final snapshot. Where is that option? Skip final snapshot is true because I don't want, because every time we delete, create and all, I don't want this to take a snapshot every time. Okay. So this, since it is working, and just get rid of it and mention this in the data source. This is our practice. We keep everything in different files. Okay. That's it. Now variables.tf. Okay, TF module or and this one engine, right? What all values do I need to supply? Engine version, variable, instance class. That's it. So you need to declare empty variables because you supply the values from the backend module. Okay, done. Okay, done. Huh. Next, we also need to create security group. Who need to access it and all. Okay. This only needs to be accessed by, okay. This DB has to be accessed by, accessed only by default VPC and by the workloads running on EKS. Okay, because EKS is the only one. I mean, not EKS. Your workloads running on EKS is the one which is going to access it. So you also need to have it. And you also need to mention under which all subnets you have to, this has to be created. So go here and try to look for this subnets. Database subnet group. So you need to create a subnet group first. And then this parameter group, right? You also need to create a parameter group. Yeah, AWS database parameter group. So parameter group is just like whatever the parameters that you want to supply, you are going to mention it. Okay, so resource. But again, we don't have any parameters, but let's supply it. Okay, parameter group. Okay, AWS database parameter group. I call it as a main. We don't have any variables, by the way. For now, I don't need anything. Okay, I'll just call it as okay, parameter group, and family is equal to MySQL 5.6, right? Okay, so you need to supply both the parameters. Okay, so var.family, I don't have any parameters. It's an empty parameter group. Next, DB subnet group. Database subnet group, right? AWS DB subnet group. You need to mention what all subnets has to be associated as a part of it. So I'll just call it the main. Okay, first let's apply these two variables. Okay, var.env and this. If not, we'll forget. Okay. Done. And variable var.family. That's it. So this is sorted, and you need to mention parameter group name is equal to. So this is the advantage. You get everything. Next. So here name is going to be. Okay, and what all subnets to be used? And again, keep this point in mind. These are the subnets that are created in a different module. Okay, and if you look at this Terraform module EKS, we did the same thing. Okay, if you look at this, okay, where did we create it? Node group. So here in the node group, we have mentioned it, right? Where is node group? Subnet IDs, var.subnet IDs, and these subnet IDs we pulled it from elsewhere. So we can straight away use var.subnet IDs. Okay. So maybe what we can do is we can mention var.subnet IDs. Okay, it is a list. Okay, we can straight away use it. And tags, I don't need any tags here. So this subnet IDs also need to define. That's it. Now know where it is read. So this one allocated storage is also something you need to parameterize it. Anything else? Only names are allowed. Special characters are not allowed. Again, you saw an identifier, right? There is something called as identifier. If you don't give this name, by default, it comes up with some junk name. Yeah, this is what it is. Okay. Identifier, which I want. Identifier is equal to That's it. Okay. Did we get everything? Yeah. Security group, right? Now you also need to supply these variables the backend. So all these values that you have supplied needs to be shipped to this main file. Mm. 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 Mhm. Any questions so far, anyone, by the way, before I proceed? Any questions? Any questions, anyone? Ambit, Girisha, Mahendra, Mridula, Rachit, Srilata, Vikram, Arun. Any questions so far? Okay, all right. So the next thing is, sorry, why did I come here? It's about expense Terraform, right? So here, what all values do we need to supply? There is another thing. So let's try to supply what all. So what all we have. So these are the values that needs to be supplied. Not here. The TF module RDS. Yes, these values needs to be supplied inside it. So you have again. It goes by this, right? TF module var dot RDS. For now, engine version, env, family. Okay, because these are the variables that we have used, right? We need to supply all of it. Instance class, subnet IDs. Okay, done. And what are the values to supply? Okay. What are the values of it? So for each var.rds, we need to supply RDS variable. Okay, since you supplied this, you won't be seeing this error. So if you don't declare this, you will get an error. Okay, fine. Now supply all the values as an input underneath this. Then we have now main.tf vars. So just like that, you also need to mention it. RDS is equal to you need to supply the values, and inside it is a main module. Main, it's a map, right? Okay, and then I just say engine. Mm, So what will be the values? Okay, so let's go and see first. Okay, what values are there? RDS. Or what all comes up in the parameter group? Yeah. So these values will change based on the engine you choose. Okay. So I'm interested in choosing engine MySQL community. Okay. And parameter group family, I want 8th. And based on that, you get database parameter group. Okay. So based on that, I'll choose. So MySQL and 8 auto. Okay. Done. Engine is equal to MySQL. And engine version is equal to 8.0. And environment is equal to environment you don't need because you already supplied it at the top. Family is equal to MySQL 8.0. Okay, because here it's mentioned, right? MySQL family. Next instance class dbt3 micro is free. Next subnet IDs. You don't have to mention it because it comes up as an output. That should be it. And then now supply these values to the input. Okay, now supply these values to the Terraform module. Let's say restart value of engine. So this one I'll just say var.env. Instance class. What should be it? And subnet IDs is equal to this is something that comes from elsewhere, right? For Terra, this one also we are supplying the same. So just straight away take it. But again, this is not EKS, right? If you look at this, our architecture, this is how we are designing, right? So EKS subnet should go under this and database should be created under these subnets. Okay, database subnets. So for that, you need to supply that value. Okay, so just like how you got EKS, you also need to supply module.vpc.main.database subnet IDs. So how can we do that? Okay, subnet IDs has to be read from the VPC. So like that, we also need to get the values from the EKS. Okay. So go to TF module VPC. Outputs. Oh, DB subnet values is already there. Okay, fine. But here DB. So this is the value that I want. Okay, module.vpc.main. It's not DB. Database subnets. It's also done. What's next? So ensure we need to have a security group for this. Okay, that is miss another thing. Okay, done. Let's go to RDS. RDS should have a security group. So let's try to create a security group. How to create a security group? Mm, 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 mm. Learn Terraform. Okay, so let's get these things off. RDS also need a security group. And this, I'll just call it as a main. Ingress and egress, just one is enough. I'll call it as RDSSG, dev RDSSG. Okay, I'll call it as description. parameterize it. Ingress, I want to make sure allows RTP, and it's going to be double. Again, you can also parameterize this, but we'll see this later. This is going to be var dot EKS subnet CADR. Okay, because this has to allow this. Okay. So you are creating your database here. You are making sure this is allowed. Okay. Var dot EKS var dot EKS subnet CADR. From where do we get it? So ensure we supply this as well. EKS subnet CADR. Okay, since you are using this, declare this value so that you don't get this. Now, since you declare an empty variable, you need to get this value from elsewhere. And also make sure this is created. If you don't, if you don't mention where it has to create, it will be created somewhere else. Okay, so TF module EKS security group. Security group, right? So how can I mention where it has to create? Okay, so you need to mention it. If not, it will fail. Yeah, VPC ID. So we need to mention VPC ID. Okay, that's one thing. Variables is fine. EKS cluster CIDR is done. TF module RDS. Okay, inside this EKS subnet CIDR is equal to EKS. Okay, this way you can supply this. All right. Now this value you already supplied it. So which can be read. Define that as an output first. So you need to supply this as an output in the Terraform module VPC. It's about reading. If you want to read it, you need to supply it as an output. That's it. So you don't have it. CIDR underscore block. Okay. So this VS Code saves my time a lot. All right. So CD to TF module VPC. CD to TF module RDS. That should be it. Now, now in the TF module RDS, did you declare it? Variables, yes. EKS subnet CIDR is already supplied. Now we need to attach this to the security group to the RDS, right? So how can I apply it? So VPC security group RDS is equal to AWS security group dot main dot ID. That's it. So you attached it, and also make sure the security group is created in the default VPC. Okay. And how can we get that? Okay. Any questions so far, anyone? Any questions, anyone? Any questions? Questions? Any questions, anyone? Anna, we are running out of time. Just bear with me for 1 more minute, okay? Any questions, anyone? Any questions? Yeah, VPC ID is also needed, right? Okay, you declared a variable VPC ID. The security group has to be declared inside this. VPC ID is equal to add dot VPC ID. Publish it. Should be good. And in the main file, subnet IDs. One more thing. Final thing. Final. This VPC output I want. VPC ID, right? Yeah, it's already declared, so you can straight away use it. Okay, module.vpc.vpc ID. VPC underscore ID is equal to that should be it. And then yeah, should be good. This it suffices all our requirement. Okay. All right, done. Expense Terraform, CD to TF module, VPC. That should be it. Okay. Now, if you run this, it should create everything in a shot. Okay. So let's try to say this. It should create everything. Okay. Now this should also create VPC. Next is schema. Okay. So again, we are 10 minutes late. We cannot inject the schema creation. We'll start with schema creation tomorrow. Okay. So with a single click of a button, I got everything. So next is schema injection. Okay. That's it. That's for today. And we're going to meet tomorrow in the session. Thank you. Sorry for taking more time. Mahendra, any questions? Srilata, Mrutula, Girisha, Arun David, Ambed. Any questions, anyone? Again, we'll sort this later tomorrow. But any questions, anyone? Any questions? All right. That's for today. And thank you. Signing off, guys. Bye.